Welcome to this week's episode of Unsettle Yourself. This week's topic is, am I showing up with integrity? So there are two pieces to this. The first one is that I've been really questioning and thinking about this for myself and looking at how I've been showing up in the world and the things that I say that are important and that I value, and how I'm being integritous with my word of that's what I value and my actions. And the other thing that I want to say about integrity is that for a long time, since I used to work at an e-commerce website and I was a hiring manager for my team, that's something that I would ask people about. I would ask people what their values are. And as soon as somebody, it was like a buzzword for me, as soon as somebody said integrity, I paid attention a lot more, because it says a lot about somebody who's willing to see what they say they believe and they value and the actions that they take. So if they say that integrity is a value of theirs, then I am probably going to see them following through on stuff, and also being willing to change and admit when something is wrong and that they need to do something over. So that's really what I want to get into, is the integrity part about how we show up. So what does this mean? There are a lot of questions that I have for myself, and then for you as well, for you to think about for yourself when it comes to showing up with integrity. So the first one is, do your actions match your beliefs? And it's really that simple to look at what you're doing and the action that you take, and whether or not that's in alignment with what you say you believe and what you say you value, whether it's in your life or somebody else's. The other question is, do you admit your shortcomings or mistakes so that you can learn and do better? This one is so important because we're so caught up in our own programming that we need to be right all the time, or that we can't make mistakes, that failure is a bad thing. But those are actually really good things, because if you don't fail, you can't do it better the next time. You can't do it right the next time. So owning up to that and admitting when you don't do something right, or when you've made a mistake, so that you can fix it and learn from it so that you don't do it again, is extremely important. And it shows up a lot when you're doing this with yourself and with other people. So the mistakes that you make in your own life, and how you can, learn from them and grow from them, and the mistakes that you make with other people as well. The other side of that is, do you own your strengths and not allow others to question those strengths? So if you know who you are, you know what you're good at, you know where your strengths lie, do you allow others to come in and try and tell you that you don't know what you're doing, or that your strengths aren't valid? There's always room for growth for things, but knowing what you're really good at and knowing what you're almost like here to do, it's almost like it's your purpose, and somebody questioning that and you allowing that to kind of bring you down and to really question, like, is this you? That's not really standing in your integrity, because you truly know what you're good at and what you're capable of doing and what you're really great at sharing with the rest of the world. So having integrity with what you're good at is just as important as admitting the things that you're not good at. And lastly, do you follow through on what you promise to yourself and to others? So there's two pieces to that. You need to, like me, and also, so I'm not just pointing at you, but we need to follow through with what we promise to ourselves first. If we're not willing to do that, why should we be willing to promise something to others and keep that promise? And there's a disparity if you do one and not the other. So if you only show up for yourself and not for others, or if you're only showing up for others and not for yourself, there needs to be a balance of both. You need to be able to show up for both yourself and for other people, especially when you say you're going to. That is a big piece of having integrity with the way that you show up in the world. So let's dig into the promises to yourself a little bit, because it's really important to understand how you are already being integritous to yourself and with your word, and also realizing where you break that with yourself, where you break those promises, and where you kind of sidetrack and don't really follow through on things that you say you want to do for yourself. Because there are two things. Maybe it's actually not for you and you're doing it for other people without realizing it, or for society, or for programming. or you're just not able to commit to yourself. So this shows up in your commitments and your boundaries and in your values. So it can show up, in your boundaries when you say that you're going to keep your word, that if somebody treats you this way, you're not going to continue to be there for it, whether it's emotional or physical abuse, anything like that. And when you don't keep that, you're not being and you're not having integrity with your word and what you say you value. And that's with all relationships, that's with all things. So it's your commitments and your boundaries, and your values. So it's really important for us to dig into how we personally show up first for ourselves, because that's where I say everything starts. It starts with yourself first, and bringing that outward into the world and how you show up for other people as well. So I say that it's always for you. So show up for yourself with integrity so that you can show up for others with integrity. And so that your actions match your beliefs, your actions match your values, and you begin to show up with more integrity as you grow and as you learn.